There he goes. All right. Boom, ladies and gents. A little bit of a rough technological start there, but we're off and rolling. All right. Could you survive a leadership boot camp in the Sahara? I don't know. Sounds interesting to me. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Business Bros, he was raised by an ex-Commando shaped by fire, and now he's leading entrepreneurial men into the world's most brutal terrains to forge brotherhood, purpose, and integrity. He's the man behind Freshline Moto Club. Let's welcome him to the show, Mr. Erik Hatterscheidt. Erik, welcome to the program, my friend.
That's awesome, man. I've heard your intros on audio. I have never seen the intro with the whole raving crowd, so I'm honored.
Sweet, man. Well, now you get the visuals and all of it, all in one episode here for you. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling, man. I gotta ask. I mean, you grew up a certain way. You got a certain mentality through you. What brought you to create Freshline Moto? What makes it different from like all the other retreats or masterminds that dudes even go to?
Slight correction there. So Freshline Moto. So it's all motorcycles that we're running. In terms of what led me to create it, there's the long story. The short version of this is I created Freshline with my best friend, Jordan. And we both were at points in our lives where we didn't even fully know it, but we were relatively isolated. Jordan had risen to a position where he was leading teams as a paramedic on the North Island in Vancouver. And I'd taken over the family business running a wilderness resort out in British Columbia, Canada. And on the surface, both of us looked like we had everything together. He obviously was responsible for his careers. I was responsible for the resort. I was running the business, but I'm sure there's listeners on your podcast that can resonate with everything might look fine on the outside, but internally you're dealing with challenge after challenge. And it's tough when the buck stops with you, when the responsibility rests on your shoulders and there's no one for you to go to. And we didn't start Freshline intentionally in any way. What happened was by accident, we explored Guatemala. We were initially backpacking, and then we walked past a motorcycle rental agency and we asked ourselves, like, hey, what would it look like to explore this country on motorcycles? We did that, just the two of us. And then we invited some friends to go do that again because we had such an incredible experience the first time. And then the second time that happened, all of those initial friends backed out. And so I hit my 2-year-old son. Sorry, he just jumped.
It's all right, man. It's what being a father is all about.
Sorry, my wife's got him. The second time around, we invited some friends. They backed out. So we just threw it out there on social media and said, anybody that's reading this post, if you're interested in exploring Guatemala, no set agenda, come explore it with us. And who reached out to us at the time were a bunch of guys that were running their own businesses. And we just thought that's a cool group to explore with. But what really came out of that was spending time around a campfire without any cell reception. You're just engaging in deep discussions in the evenings. And what Jordan and I both realized is, man, these guys carry heavy loads of responsibility as well. Once again, everything looks great on the outside, but there's a lot that they don't know who to share this with, or they're feeling not as supported as they could be. And so Freshline went from what was going to be just a fun way to go explore the country to a club. And it was actually those guys that said, okay, this experience was incredible for us. What's next? But then also just keeping in touch with each other through that experience, supporting each other through the highs and lows of life, where we still have some of those guys from that very first expedition are part of the club today. And we've been in touch on an almost weekly basis since then. And that was almost 7 years ago.
You know, it's funny. I grew up, my best friend growing up when I was a kid is also named Jordan. But we kind of lost connection after, like, around after elementary school ended. His family moved away, and I grew up in a time where we didn't have Facebook and all that stuff. So if you didn't, maybe a pen pal might have worked back then. But basically, there a lot of the kids that I grew up with, the little core group, I would say, I grew up during the era of the Mighty Ducks. So we had our little hockey crew. We all kind of went off and did our separate thing. And as an adult now, I feel like I don't have very many great strength like relationships. I got a few because they're family and we hang out every once in a while, but like to have a group of guys to kind of that camaraderie, someone I can reach out to, someone who understands what I'm going through, because I feel like there's a lot of guys that go through, in myself included, these quiet times where, like you said, on the outside it looks like we got it all together because we get our stuff done, because we're taking care of our families, but there's a lot of this mental health that only another guy really understands some of the things that you're going through. And that could be in business, that can be in your personal life, that could be with kids, as a father, like all kinds of different areas. And having something that you can kind of collaborate with, something extracurricular, a team almost, even if it's a motor club, just to have that group of people together, it can change the dynamic of each guy's life from a day-to-day basis. Tell me a little bit about your leadership, how you teach leadership, and how it's better than the classroom to go out and do these things, to just go ride, see the country, and kind of be with the dudes.
Yeah, part of this you could say is there's a magic in going out to some of these super remote locations and being in that environment in itself. But one thing that I've seen really sets us apart from a lot of the other leadership development programs that are out there is the fact that you are genuinely being taught leadership lessons and practicing those lessons, sometimes within minutes of each other. And then you've got your already established leaders in the program who are giving you real-time live feedback as you're running through these leadership scenarios. And it's not a mock scenario. What we're doing is inherently very challenging. There's risk involved. You're leading a true team, and you have a set mission, and all those things are real components. And even in our training expeditions, we have real set missions. We're delivering medical supplies to remote regions, or we're going into villages to go do support with building projects and things like that, with water filters. There's a number of things, but getting that real-time feedback and seeing where your blind spots are, not in a hypothetical scenario, but as you're actually leading, is a different thing. This is a little bit similar to in marketing. You can go and you can ask somebody, hey, will you buy my thing? That can be a very different action from when they actually pull out their wallet. And so we're watching leaders, we're watching them actually display their true habits and their true nature in an environment. And that can also change depending on the environment. If you're in a mock scenario, you're not feeling stressed, you're not feeling threatened, you're not feeling super hungry. In our scenarios, you'll feel all of those things guaranteed. And so what we're doing is we're placing leaders in true environments that can get as stressful and as intense as they get, to see not just how you operate when things are going well, but how do you operate when you're at your limit mentally, physically, you're exhausted. What are you defaulting to? And then what are the behaviors that we can see there, isolate, focus on, and then focus on with you as a leader to work on changing. And so we see some pretty dramatic changes in those training camps because of that model.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about those transformations. I mean, I'm sure some of these guys, like I was saying earlier, they come from their regular CEO backgrounds, right? They got their businesses, they're doing the day-to-day stuff. You put them in some intense situations with things that maybe they normally don't do, and they start to feel these emotions. They're getting the feedback from the leaders and mentors that are there with them. What kind of transformations do you see? What kind of things do they go through mentally, emotionally, spiritually when they come out of this?
So every boot camp that we've got, or training camp, I hesitate to use the term boot camp because they're using the term base camp now. Every training session that we've got, we run campfire chats in the evenings. And most guys think that their biggest leadership breakthroughs are going to come during the day when we're teaching the leadership lessons. The biggest breakthroughs that we have in all of our camps, if you ask all of our participants, happen in the campfire chats in the evenings, because those conversations revolve around relationships, which is leadership. But that's not always the way that guys are thinking about it. And so when we start to give them real realizations about how they're showing up in their relationships, that for them is the game changer, where they really have epiphany moments and they realize the things I say I want to do, or the things I say are important to me, are not necessarily aligned with my actions. And then we hold them accountable to setting a goal and saying, okay, how are we going to shift the way that you're thinking about this and your actions? And then we will follow up with them post boot camp to make sure that their actions are aligning with who they want to show up as a leader.
Who does this kind of fit for? I mean, we're talking about high level entrepreneurs, obviously, but like my question is more geared towards like they got pain points. There's things that are going on in their life mentally, maybe physically, maybe in their relationships, like you're saying. And there's something going on in their life that triggers, I need to change, right? There's something that needs to happen and I need to do something. I may not know exactly what it is, but you know what? Freshline looks like something that's interesting. What kind of person tends to be your ideal client for this type of activity?
The thing that we hear most often, so we have an application process, and through the application, we'll accept some people into an assessment call. And in the assessment calls, what we will see constantly are men who make the comment, I feel like I've outgrown the group around me, and I'm isolated, not physically, there's good people around me, but I'm isolated in the capability that I have being level with the group that I've got. And so they've outgrown the peer group around them. And that in itself is a piece of isolation. And when you've outgrown that peer group, and often you're leading in your peer group, what that means is that your feedback loops are broken, because most of the people that you're leading are not going to point out all of your blind spots. And so what we're able to do is take those guys and really recalibrate them, because they're also evaluating each other on these training expeditions as well. And so they're getting feedback from peers, from highly competent peers who are seeing where they need to recalibrate, because you don't always get that from the people that are a few levels below you.
There's also this pride factor, I should say. Like, I know at home, and it sounds kind of goofy, but we put up this like little retaining wall, right? My brother and I were working on it, and it was just kind of a little side project, and we worked on it for a couple days. And when it's done, you get to look back and you're like, look at this thing we created, right? Like, how cool is this? On top of that, we got to spend all that time together, doing this project. When you have these missions on top of getting that feedback, and learning to be a better leader and all that stuff, how much do they look back at that actual mission with pride and say, look, not only did I learn some great stuff and I become better, I got to do this for this group of people.
Dude, like, it's funny because I just had a conversation half an hour before this meeting, this call, with yet another member who booked a call with me to say, Freshline is changing my life. That mission that you took me through was the most fulfilled I've been in years. I want to do more of that. How do I get even more involved? And what it is to us is it's finding a space for men to feel valued and have purpose. And that is by seeing the work that they're doing and it being very, very immersive. We're going into super remote regions where it's not uncommon, where the tribes that we're going into haven't seen Westerners before. And so to see the awe that this tribe has from the supplies and things that we're bringing in and the people that are there and the gratefulness that they have for sometimes supplies that they've never had, guys are like, okay, this is a whole level deeper in terms of purpose than I've had just trying to increase a paycheck back home for one of my employees.
It's that whole idea of I relate it to like Christmas. Like when you're a kid, receiving the gifts is all great and dandy, but then you reach a certain age and it's the giving and the helping of others that you really find that joy in. Kind of the reason why you get into business in the first place. I mean, I know a lot of people get into business because of the money and that stuff, but really at the end of the day, when you have a problem and then you either build a solution, buy a solution, or find a solution, and you're able to help other people get there, there's an immense amount of joy that goes into solving those problems for a lot of those different types of people. Now, let me ask you about like time commitment for these things. Like when people apply and they become part of the club, do they get to kind of choose their missions? Do they get assigned to it? And what kind of time commitment are they looking for?
So first, everyone has to go through a trial expedition, which is a week. If they go through that trial expedition and we decide we want to invite them into the club and they also decide this is an experience that they want to engage with, all the expeditions after that right now sit between 2 and 3 weeks around the world. They can pick and choose how many expeditions they want to go on. And sometimes we'll have members that it just won't work out in a given year to even go on one expedition. And then we've got members that are going on 2, 3, 4 in a given year. So it really is up to the member how much they want to be involved. There's also the super intense Freshline organized expeditions that we run to places like Madagascar and Papua New Guinea and Mongolia and things like that. And then there's member organized expeditions, which all members can participate in as many as they want. And those are happening around the world all the time. And any member can participate in those. And there's no cost for that. They just, as long as they can show up, then they're able to participate in those expeditions.
Tell me about that trial expedition. Like if you got a CEO out there looking to kind of make a change and they want to come out and try this out, what can they expect in these trial expeditions? And in the sense that, you know, I want to be able to be invited to more and successfully become part of the club.
So the trial expeditions, they have moved around. Right now we're running trial expeditions in Guatemala, and the trial expedition, as I mentioned, is a week. You get a distinct mission. In this case, we're delivering medical supplies to the highlands of Guatemala. You're going through jungles, going in and serving some of the tribes out there. You will be running that with some of our already established expedition leaders. And it's a training expedition as much as it's an actual expedition for you to test out whether you like this thing or not. And the best analogy that we can give is, even if guys know how to ride a motorcycle, or even if they know how to navigate, or even if they think they know mechanical, medical, all of those things, a lot of what we're doing in that teaching is similar to, like, if you move from one sports team to another, you might know how to do things in your own way, but you have to learn how we communicate. What are our plays? How do we run our scenarios? How do we run our emergency protocols? All of that. And so we're teaching all of that in that trial expedition. Whether you decide you want to move forward with Freshline or not, you will have the skills to essentially run a team on an international expedition at a base level. There's a lot more intensive training camps as you start to see what we're doing. We're literally pushing the limits. We're organizing expeditions where we're airdropping into territories and running down tributaries of the Amazon and doing some super remote stuff. There's higher level training camps, but if you're just looking at, hey, how do I organize a team and run an international expedition, you'll know that by the end of that first week. So you could do that on your own, or you can potentially move forward with us. And of the guys that we invite in, right now, 82% decide that they want to move forward. So the majority of the guys are saying, yeah, this is for me. This is, after this experience, this is definitely something I want to do more of.
Obviously, this is a little more intense than some other things that people can be a part of. What about the physical attributes? Like what kind of physically, what condition do I need to be in? Is there like an age type of thing where, like, maybe at a certain age, I probably shouldn't be doing this anymore? Like, you know, how does that work out? What should I be, if I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, this looks like something I might want to do, but I think I need to work on me a little bit more first? Who are you looking for in that sense?
Yeah, so we do have a prep. We have a prep form for the guys that are coming into Crucible. As far as age goes, I think would surprise most people. The most common age for a guy coming in is 50. A lot of people assume that it's closer to Jordan and I, who are kind of in our mid-30s. But no, the age is actually higher, which we love because these guys are more experienced. They do things a lot smarter. As far as physicality goes, there's a threshold that you need to hit coming into that Crucible. We call it the Crucible Expedition, this trial expedition. Once you come out of that, though, we'll also give you a recommendation coming out. If we decide to invite you into the club, we'll give you a recommendation based on what level of expedition is appropriate for you moving forward. And we've just introduced a level of expedition that is good for especially some of the older guys, where we're like, hey, you're not going to do some of the most intense stuff that we've been running, but there's just so much need around the world to get supplies into different regions. That don't necessarily mean you have to ride hard enduro the whole time. So there's opportunity for guys coming out of that where if they've got a great character and they're a good fit with the values of the club, there's plenty of opportunity to run expeditions around the world that are less intense.
Now, obviously, when you go through these, you're going to build a brotherhood, and that's one of the core values that you guys have in your program. And you've been doing this for some time. What are some of those activities that you built into the program that kind of really help strengthen that brotherhood?
Oh, man, we've got a lot. So in order to build this community, one of the first things we did is we organized for the members in a section. We have a member portal. So in the member portal, there's member value offers. And so any member can go in there and they can offer any of the members something that's valuable. And then sometimes that's skills, like, hey, I'm skilled in marketing, or I'm skilled in finance, or I'm skilled in investing, for example. But then there's member organized events. So we have member organized rides all over the world. We have breakfasts, we have pub nights, we have all of that stuff. And we got members in at least 16 different countries right now, if not more at this point, who are in most of the continents around the world. And they're meeting up with each other in those organized events. We also have ambassadors for all the regions. So when you join the club, right away, you're going to get an orientation call with Jordan, who's the other co-founder. He's going to introduce you to the back end of the club, but he's also going to introduce you to the ambassador for your area. And that ambassador is going to introduce you to the members that are in your region as well. And so right away, they're pulling guys into the events, even before they go on a trial expedition, to just see and understand what the ethos of the club is like. So that's definitely one of many elements. The other thing that we've got as well is a mentorship program. And what we've recognized is that there are a lot of guys in this club that have a lot of wisdom, and there's a lot of guys that are willing to learn from those individuals. And so we've got a program where guys can teach courses and other members can learn from them, and then also use that person as an ongoing mentor to do ongoing calls and things like that. We've got a weekly member fireside chat, actually multiple member fireside chat groups. So members jump in every week and they'll talk about deep topics in their life. Members will say often, like, the guys in this club know me better than anyone, including my spouse, because they're being super real in those conversations. And we're working through some of the hardest stuff that they've got in life. And we all go through moments where there's valleys and peaks. There's times when we're sharing wins together, and then there's times where, like, hey, it's a low moment. There's also often we're setting up GoFundMe campaigns for guys that are in a rough spot. We just had one of our trainers from one of the training camps. He had a really, really bad accident here recently. He runs his own business as well. And so we set up a GoFundMe, and we're raising tens of thousands of dollars for him to support him and his family. And that's not an uncommon thing. We've helped out plenty of guys, myself included. Early in the club, there was a point where my business was on the line. I couldn't even pay rent. And without asking, the guys came together and organized a couple of months rent for me to just make sure that I could make it through that period. So it's a true network of guys that really care about each other, because we know each other very well.
That's the strength of building that bond, building that brotherhood. It makes a really big difference, being able to be vulnerable in some senses, to let people know I'm hurting. Because again, those are situations that without brotherhoods like the ones that you guys have built, they just go silent. You'll be struggling trying to figure out how you're going to pay that rent, and you'll figure it out because you've always figured it out. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're not stressed out. You got a 2-year-old over there. Everything that you can possibly think of that's weighing on you is weighing on you, and you got these guys to kind of help you do that. Now, you did say that they're going to feel it. This is real life stuff that they're going through. So you got any like intense stories of maybe emergencies or things that happen out there that kind of brings some excitement, but also, builds that brotherhood together?
We've got a lot. We've got a lot. I guess I'll pick one. Like, there's many over the years. We were running an expedition in Mongolia, and a portion of our expedition route took us straight through the Gobi Desert, multiple days of being in the Gobi Desert. And we had run about a day and a half into the Gobi Desert, and one of our guys went down really hard, fell, crashed, and immediately had issues where he couldn't breathe properly. We knew for sure at the very least he'd broken ribs. We were pretty concerned that he punctured a lung. We had a paramedic on the team who checked him out and was like, yeah, things don't look good. And so first thing we did is we attempted to call in emergency support. So I called in, we have a service called Global Rescue, called them up, said, hey, like, this guy's in bad shape. We need to get him out of here. And they said, yeah, sure, we'll send a chopper. Stand by.
Nice.
5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, not hearing anything. 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by. This he's down, he's hurting. And I call him back and I'm like, hey, what's the situation? Like, we're having a lot of trouble because the area we were in the Gobi was so remote that they're like, if we send a chopper in, there's no choppers that have enough range to get to you and back. Oh. And so we're looking at what our fuel options are. Now, unknown to us is that this is right on the brink of when Russia invaded Ukraine. And so the fuel depots that we were counting on were not even towns. They were mining camps out there. And they rely on Russia for their fuel supply. Well, the war had just started and Russia pulled all the fuel. Or I should say, wasn't delivering fuel to that part of the Gobi. Now I've got two problems. I've got a guy that's down who's super injured, and I'm realizing, well, we also don't have the range on these bikes to even get back to the closest city. We don't have the fuel either because we're relying on one of these mining camp outposts to get fuel. So we as a team don't know how we're going to get out of here, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with this injured guy. And that was a moment where, like many moments in Freshline, as the leader, you pull the team aside and you just are super real with them about the situation. You're like, guys, things don't look great. Here are all the facts. Let's hear from you guys. What do you think we should do? And you go around with every member of that team and you hear them out. And then you as the leader ultimately are responsible for the team no matter what. What ended up transpiring there is we decided as a team that a portion of the team would go out. A portion of the team would go out to the nearest mining camp to just see if there was any fuel out there. A couple of the guys would stay with our down rider and make sure he had medical attention, set up tarps and things like that to make sure that he was shaded. And then while that was all going on, I was in contact with the motor rental agency. We always keep them as an emergency contact. So again, via sat phone initially, seeing if we could organize to get a truck with fuel canisters from a city that was 5 hours away. That was the close, I should say a town. City is an overstatement. A town that's 5 hours away, there's no roads in. We had gone completely overland. So, hey, can a truck get in here completely overland? We got somewhat lucky in the sense that we were able to organize a truck, but it was almost 13 hours by the time that they got to us, that truck. And the team that had gone out to the mining camp, all the fuel depots were dry. They managed to find a guy that had stored some fuel in a barrel and paid him like 5 times the price for fuel to bring fuel back in these fuel bags that we carry to extend our range. And the guy that went down, luckily he hadn't punctured a lung, but it was definitely painful for him. So we just put him on pain meds, kept him stable until the truck could get in. And then for him, it was a 13-hour ride out to the nearest medical facility to actually go in and get there. So yeah, there are intense moments for sure, because sometimes the plan that you have, it doesn't materialize. Things don't go according to plan. And then you're looking at, okay, what do we do next as a team to make sure that this thing, we all make it out of this together at some point. So,
but you know what though? Like, look, that exact situation is almost parallel to how you would handle any fire or issue in your business. You do the same exact thing. Look, I'm gonna level with you guys. This is the situation. This is where we're at. Any ideas, come on, right? But the intensity of it is completely different, but going through that and coming out of it and then going back to, our normal lives, all of a sudden those issues don't seem so radical, don't seem so crazy, don't seem so intense. I feel like I'm now more prepared to handle everyday business troubles compared to the life-threatening situation that you were in out there. I mean, it definitely builds, and the bond you guys must have had after that. I mean, it's got to be huge and intense. You're literally trying to save a guy's life and going through almost half a day's worth of travel time, maybe even longer than that by the time everything's all said and done, just to solve one major problem. And my hat's off to you guys, because to put together things like that and to come out of it with success takes a lot of proper planning and a lot of cool dudes. If people want to reach out to you, Erik, if they want to find out more about the different expeditions that you guys have, maybe going through the mission and applying themselves, how can they do that?
One of the best places to just see what we're up to and then find the application as well is on Instagram. So if you look up Freshline Moto Club on Instagram, that'll give you a good indication of what we've been up to. And then it'll also, in the bio, there's a link to the application form if you think you want to take that next step. An application doesn't commit you to anything. It just puts you on an assessment call with us where we're going to get to know you better. You'll get to know us better. And we'll see if it makes sense to continue the conversation from there.
Boom. All right. What about the website? What are they going to find there? And then say it in case people are listening to the audio version.
Sure. So for website, super simple, www.freshlineclub.com. And yeah, once again, you can check out what we do, how we run, and there's opportunities to apply from there as well.
You've been doing this for a while. So my last little question here, what's next for the club? What do you have in store? What are you ready for? What's the next journey looking like?
I think the way you're asking this question is probably like, what's the next physical location? And the simple answer to that is we have a team that's leaving today actually for Kyrgyzstan. But in terms of like what really matters to us, our motto here at the club is leave it better. And that to us means leave the places better we go, but importantly, the members as well. And one thing I was just having a discussion around is how do we form a program in Freshline to do our best to model to younger guys, like, I mean, up to boys, give them an opportunity to see how other men are living their lives. Because we keep seeing around us in our communities a bunch of boys who just don't have any male role models at all. And so I'm not claiming to say we're all role models, but I am saying we have guys that are highly competent individuals and are already leading in other ways. And so just making themselves available to the youth of the community is a big initiative that we're looking to push forward now.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, fellas, if you guys are looking for something different, something that's going to build your character, something that's going to build your leadership skills, something that's going to build a brotherhood with other dudes out there, and make a big difference in the world today, you guys got to check this out. Freshlineclub.com. Freshlineclub.com. Erik and his team are doing some amazing things. You heard some of the stories. Hopefully you're not one of those that gets injured, but if you do, I mean, you heard it here. They're going to take care of you. That's how brothers take care of each other. Erik, thank you very much for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thanks so much for that.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.